koutou katoa.
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Chris Tremaine.
Tēnā koe mana whakahaere. Te hei mauri o rā. Whakatakata hau ki te uru. Whakatakata hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta. Kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi aki ana te ātākura. He tio, he huka, he hauhunga. Tēnā koutou. Mr Speaker, the mihi I've just used was the one that I started my speech with in the first reading for the Maungaharuru Tangitu Hapu. And it has particular relevance because it speaks of a new dawn for Maungaharuru Tangitu, a touch of frost, probably quite relevant today with the fog that's coming through Wellington and has actually prevented many of the negotiators and members of the 6 Hapu from coming down to Poniki to Wellington today to be part of this second reading. So in that regard, as many other members in the House have done, as Denise Roche from the Greens and Meka Whaiteri, as Minister Finnison has done, can I acknowledge the presence and spirit very much of kaumātua, of rangatira from Maungaharuru Tangitu who cannot be here today. And in particular, can I acknowledge Bevan Taylor and Tanya Hopmans, who are 2 of the lead negotiators, the rangatira, who have led the negotiations to bring the bill to the point that we are now, where we can reach a settlement for this particular group or this natural grouping. And I say natural grouping because there was some debate about whether, well, from some, certainly not from members of these Hapu, but that they weren't a natural grouping. So to establish that fact has been excellent. So to be clear, the rohi of Maungaharuru Tangitu sits within my electorate, or should I say my electorate sits within the rohi. The area starts at Maungaharuru, which is the group that sits in Napier. So those of you who know where the Napier Airport is, that land there will be part of the Maungaharuru claim. But so going north from there, it's up along the coast, Takes Beach, Waipataki, up through to Ridgemount Station, through to the Waikari River, which is where Ngāti Pahuera and their iwi sit further north. That claim has been settled since I've been a member of this House, which is absolutely fantastic. And Pahuera are getting on with building an economic base, businesses, and becoming very much a part of the local economy. The rohi goes west from there to the ranges of Maungaharuru, which is to the west. And interestingly, Maungaharuru talks about the beating of wings, because if you go back a couple of hundred years, the Maungaharuru range, so Maunga as in mountain, Haruru, beating of wings, talks about the petrels and seabirds that actually used to nest up in those I wouldn't call it quite mountains, but mid-hill areas. And interesting to see that the iwi are now working with Julian Robertson, actually, who's put $1 million into bringing back seabirds in that area, which is absolutely fantastic. So, look, this is a wonderful point in time that we've got to this point and we can settle. I mean, I just wanted to I've actually got quite a close connection with the area. I happen to be fortunate to own some property at Waipataki Beach, and just this January I worked very closely with Maungaharuru Tangitu. We had Bevan Taylor out to the beach. I've got a property that sits right on beside the beach, which actually is about 18 acres there, which had the old one of the old pass sites up and around. So we had the members of the iwi out to look at where some of the dugouts were, and just to have a sense of what may need to be protected in future years if that site was to be developed. So no, really interesting. In terms of the settlement itself, as I've said with the Raukawa settlement, it actually empowers Maungaharuru Tangitu by not only returning land to them, but there's some financial redress there as well, plus cultural redress. And in terms of the the redress that we there. We see the vesting of part of Opuahi Station and the Opuahi Scenic Reserve, the vesting of the Tipuhui domain back into the Maungaharuru Hapu, vesting of lake beds at Lake Tutira, Lake Ōrākai, Lake Waikopiro and Lake Opuahi. Also we see the return of the lake beds in the Hapu, the vesting and gifting of a number of significant cultural properties, including Boundary Stream Scenic Reserve, the Bellboard Bird Bush, and the balance of the Opuahi Scenic Reserve and Whakaari Landing Place Reserve. So all these things coming together have reached what I think is an excellent settlement for Maungaharuru Hapu. I think it's taken a long time to get to this point, but as I said earlier, Bevan, Taylor, Tanya Hopmans and the other negotiators have worked hard to get to this point, and I think it is definitely, there is hope there for a quality settlement, and as my colleague in the Green Party said, there is genuine optimism amongst the Hapu about the future. And I must say, when I was there for the signing of the agreement in principle at the marae, it was fantastic to talk to the people who were very optimistic, who really wanted to look forward and put behind them the issues of the past, to look forward to their own mokopuna, their tamariki, their children, and to focus on how they could get them really, really well educated, how they could then become significant contributors not only to their own community, to the wider community, but also an understanding that of their place in the world and in what is now more and more a global community, where I think you actually need to have your roots very clearly embedded in some part of the world, which for me is the Mighty Hawke's Bay, and very much a part of this area, Maungaharuru Tangitu. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak in this. As I've said in the Raukawa speech, it is a huge privilege to be part of these historical treaty settlements, and a huge privilege to have those settlements from my own electorate taking place, and us seeing genuine progress being made and huge development in Hawke's Bay as a result of these settlements. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Speaker.
Larissa Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.